This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, thank you everybody for giving me a few moments here. On Lamed Vav Amid Aleph, the Gemara was addressing the following possibility, where Abaye was of the opinion that Rabbi Elchanan says bias mubaris is a bia, chalitzas mubaris is a chalitza, and Rish Lakish says bias mubaris loishma bia, chalitzas mubaris loishma chalitza. Rava says, that is what Rava held. Rava held that Rabbi Elchanan holds they're both good, and Rish Lakish says they're both not good. And Abaye switched. He said, Bia, everyone holds. Bias mubaris, loishma bia. The machlokes is about chalitza. Rabbi Elchanan says it's good. Rish Lakish says it's not good. To which Rava asked, to Abaye, Rava asked, that doesn't make any sense. Because kol sha'olah li'ibam, olah chalitza. If you could do yibam, you could do chalitza. If you can't do yibam, you can't do chalitza. So if everybody agrees bias muberes lo yishma bia, everybody should agree chalitzas muberes lo yishma chalitza. So the question is, first of all, what did Abaye hold? Abaye knew the klal of kol she'olah libam olah chalitza, kol she'eino libam eino olah chalitza. But apparently Abaye held you could say the bia is no good, the chalitza is good. So Tosfos, the bottom Tosfos, it's one line. He says that in Abaye's opinion, that everyone said not to do the bia because we don't want you to come to Isser, because again, you know, she might be pregnant with a ben kayama, so it's like a precaution. But chalitza is a shaila. And Rava asks, what do you mean? If you can't do yibum, then you shouldn't be able to do chalitza. So all the achronim ask, when I say all, I mean Rabbi Elchanan and the Kavitz Ha'aras in Siman Lamed Ches, and also Shaus Teshuvas Oineg Yom Tif in Siman Kuf Ayin Zayin, I believe. They are of the opinion. They ask the following question. What in the world is going on? Don't you remember Daf Chaf? What's the halacha if an almana falls to a kohen gadol? So almana to a kohen gadol is a lava aseh. So a kohen gadol can't do yibam because ein aseh derech aseh v'aseh, but it has to do chalitza. Hey, what happened? Kol she'eino yibam, eino chalitza. So you'll ask, hey Rabbi Elchanan, what's that got to do with our Gemara? That's stamakasha. Why are nothing to do with anything we said? If there's a rule of kol she'eino liba and oil chalitza, then why is chayve lava aseh not oil liyibam and oil chalitza? It's nothing to do with what our Gemara said. So if you remember, because we learned that the din of kol she'eino liyibam and oil chalitza is only if you're an erva. So if you're an erva, if you're not oil liyibam, you're not oil chalitza, but chayve lava aseh is not an erva. It's just there's an aseh who isha b'psula yikach, and you can't take an almana, so she's not an erva. So we don't apply kosher in oil libim in oil chalitza. But our Gemara is the problem, because our Gemara is applying kosher in oil libim in oil chalitza to a non-erva. A muberes is not an erva. Turns out she's not the kid is not a ben kayama. So fine, you don't say a gloy mil salam afreya, but she's not an erva. V'haraya. In Rish Lakish, when the kid dies, you do Yibam again. And we don't say that, the first time you lived with an Eishes Ach, and we should say Nesra. No, nobody says there's an Erva over here. And the Gemara is applying Kol she'eino oil lima eino oil chalitza to a non-Erva. Yet we know from Chayve Lava Aseh that Kol she'eino oil libam eino oil chalitza does not apply to a non-erva. In other words, the question is, we've already established that kol she'eino oil lima eino oil chalitza is only for arayos, not for situations that you can't do yibam. We learned that from Chayve Lava Aseh. So why don't we say here also, Rava, what are you talking about? Kol she'eino oil lima eino oil chalitza. There's no erva over here. That's Rabbi Chanan's kasha. So I'm just going to tell you the answer outside. Rabbi Chanan says there are two dinim on kol she'eino libam eino chalitza. One is by chayve krisos, since there's no zika. So there's no zika for yibum, there's no zika for chalitza. That's one din. Now that doesn't apply to chayve lava aseh. Because chayve lava aseh, there's no chayve krisos, there's no zika buster there. There's another din. That when there is zika, but you can't do yibum, because the act of yibum won't be effective, then chalitza won't help either. So chayve lava aseh, you know why you do chalitza? Because there's no zika for yibum. Meaning they're two distinct dinim of kol she'eino olim eino lechalitza. One is if there's no zika at all because there's chayve krisos, and that is for arayos. And then there is, if there is zika but you can't do yibum because of a side reason, then we say kol she'eino olim eino lechalitza. Chayve lavan ma'aseh, there's just no zika for yibum because the aseh can't push off a lava aseh, but there is zika for chalitza. So in other words, there's a concept you could have zika for chalitza and no zika for yibum. But in muberes there is zika for yibum. It's just you can't do it because you can't take the chance. So when there is zika and you can't do it, then we say kol she'eino olim eino chalitza. And I'm going to give you a very interesting example. This we'll see inside. Any kings in the Shiur? I'm very into kings lately. A lot of the Chumash Shiurim are about kings. But I didn't have anything to say this week, so I got into the Iyun Shiur. Okay, quick king business. Any kings in the Shiur right now? Yeah, I didn't think so. Ishtoi shel melech eino nevelas la'achil olam. The wife of a king, nobody can live with ever again. Even King B can't marry the Amana or Grusha of King A. Fine. Asur l'roisai kishu arum. You're not to see a king when he bathes and he's undressed. You can't see a king when he takes a haircut. You can't see a king in the bathhouse. You can't see a king wiping. And a king can't do chalitza. Says the Rambam, since he can't do chalitza, he can't do yibum. Since a king can't do chalitza, a king can't do yibum. If the king's brother died, the king doesn't do yibum. Says the Rambam, v'chein in meishu, if a king dies, since he can't be yabim his wife, right? If a king dies, you can't be miyabim his wife. Why? Because there's halacha, no one's allowed to marry the wife of a king. You can't give her chalitza. So what does she do? She remains zakuk her whole life. You hear this? A king dies without kids, his wife is up the creek without a paddle. Why? Because he can't do yibum. Why? Because we said you're not allowed to marry Ishtoi shel melech. So do chalitza. No, the Rambam says, since you can't do yibum, you can't do chalitza. I asked Rabbi Elchanan, what do you mean? Chayve lavin va'aseh, you can't do yibum, you could do chalitza. So why don't we say the same thing with Eishes HaMelech? Can't do yibum, so do chalitza. It's a pashut kasha. Rabbi Nosson, what do you want to say?
What does chalitza help if she can't marry anybody else anyways?
What does chalitza help if she can't marry anyone anyway, huh? She's not zakuk. What's an nafkamina?
Yeah.
What's the nafkamina of giving chalitza if she can't marry anybody anyway? The nafkamina, I guess, would be if she did marry someone, she's not violating the zika. Okay, I hear. The question is better than the answer.
What if she's a basket?
What if... there's no way, Asi, that the Yevamos is a Baskayan. Yes, so what?
So if she's a chalutza, what about eating truma?
Chalutza could eat truma. I don't think so. Okay, here you're going, but okay, we'll have to think about it. But Lamaisa, Rabbi Chanan's kasha is, I don't understand. Chayve lava aseh, she can't do yim, she can do chalitza. So why can't Eishes Melech? Okay, you can't do yim or do chalitza. Says Rabbi Chanan, from here we see there's a second din of kol she'eino oil yibam, eino oil chalitza. One din is that if you're not oil yibam because you're chayve krisos, you're not zakuk, there's no zika, so you're not oil chalitza. There's another din. This woman is zakuk. It's just there's a side reason why you can't do yibam. So if a woman who is zakuk, with a side reason you can't do yibam, she's not oil chalitza like a muberes. Eishes chayve lava aseh, she's not zakuk to yibam because ein aseh doich alois aseh v'aseh. That's Rabbi Chanan's split. Lamaisa, I'll read to you the Ramban. The Ramban does not say like Rabbi Chanan. And maybe we'll leave it at that. Says the Holy Ramban, Ibias mubar shma bia chalitzas mubar shma chalitza. If the bia is good, the chalitza should be good. If the bia is not good, the chalitza shouldn't be good. Perush. Di mishum iser sveika. If there's an iser sveika, kivan sha'avar bala amaylay nifter atzara. If the bia is good, then the chalitza should be good. Here's the Ramban's kasha. Why do we say that the bia is not good? Why do we say if the bia is not good, the chalitza is not good? But chayve lav va'aseh, if you do bia loikana, but they need chalitza. So we see kol she'ein oil libam, you could be oil chalitza, right? That's Rabbi Chanan's kasha. So the kasha, the achroinim, was already asked in the Rishonim. The Ramban says an interesting thing. Hasam iser davar acher garim la. There, a side Isser is causing it. V'rachmana Rabinu, and the Torah included it. Aval hacha im kishim mubaras ein roy liyibam. But over here, if when she's mubaras, she's not roy for yibam, shem ba'al loy kana, im kein eishas ach shaloi b'mekam mitzvahi. Then she's an Eishes Ach, Chalitza Nami Loi Chazia. By Chayve Lavin Vasei, it's a side reason. So the Torah included her for Chalitza. But here, if she's not Roy for Yibum, so she's an Eishes Ach, Shaloi B'Makoi Mitzvah. Now wait a second. Is she an Eishes Ach, Shaloi B'Makoi Mitzvah? I mean, we learned a million times she's not chayiv a carbon if the kid's not viable. Rav Shmuel asked on the Ramban, "Devreim tzarch bior da mefurish b'masnisin the ba'aleh." If you live with the v'achach yipila p'tura min carbon and you're not chayiv eishasach, and like we were dealing in Reish Lakish, even though you're not mekayim the mitzvah of yibum, you're not chayiv for eishasach. Must be, since there's zika after the kid is miscarried, that patters you from the chiyuv eishasach. Like Tosfos' analogy, a yavam that lived with Yevimta, a yavam was a ktana. So it seems like legabe yibam, the eishasach is there, but not for anything else. So let's read the words. Says Reb Shmuel, Nira the ein kavanas haraja Ramban the kan din ervas eishasach. He says, I don't believe that by mu'beres the woman is considered an eishasach. El ikar kavanasam. The main kavan of the Rishonim is l'chalik bein nidon didan v'chayve lav and masei, to differentiate between a muberes and chayve lav asei. The b'chayve lav asei, there's no patur midine yibum. You're not patur from yibum. There's a side reason that you're not oila yibum because of the iser. Even though if you would do yibum, you would not be koineh. there's an Isser that's stopping it. It's not Hilchas Yibum that's stopping it. And therefore we don't say Kol she'ein olim eino l'chalitza. But by Me'uberes, the Torah is Dinei Yibum. The Torah says Ayin Olav. Ayin Olav means if she's pregnant, that's a Yibum stopper. So if you don't know if she has children, she's not considered Isha Shein Labanim. She doesn't have a Din Yibum. Now, it's not a complete Pator, because she's Zakuk for afterwards. But right now, it's a Yibum de Kaptor. And you should say, Kol she'ein olim eino l'chalitza, even though if she miscarries, you'll be oila l'yibum. Ma she'ein ken chai ve'lai v'aseh, it's not a yibum de kaptor, it's a ptor because of the Isser. Okay, Rabbi Sai, we have what to think about. Just to summarize, again, the question is, the Gemara in Lamed Vav says that if the bia doesn't work, the chalitza shouldn't work. And the Achroinim ask, what do you mean? Chai ve'lai v'aseh, you can't do yibum, you can do chalitza. So Elchanan gives an answer that the din of kol she'eino libam eino chalitza by mu'beres is that when there is a zika and you can't activate upon it, then that destroys the chalitza, as opposed to chai ve'lai v'aseh where there's no zika for yibum, so then there could be zika for chalitza. The Rishonim say a little differently. The Rishonim say the distinction is by chai ve'lai v'aseh, it's not a ptur in the yibum, it's a isser that's stopping it, so it doesn't affect the chalitza, as opposed to mu'beres is a yibum dika ptur, so that will affect the chalitza as well. Okay, Rabbi Sai, thanks for joining. Tomorrow night, 8:30, regular Parsha Shiur. There's also a 7:45 Shiur on Inyani Tu B'Shvat. Thanks everyone for joining. Have a great night. Shkayach.
Thank you. Happy night.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.